This podcast is for your ears only.
Give us a peace equal to the war, or else our souls will be unsatisfied.
I'm Judelyn Gibson of the 2nd Street Dreams Audio Network. This is the June 15th, 2026 episode of Classical Music in Colors.
Of accepting every challenge, the challenge of the poor, the black, of all denied, the challenge of the vast colonial world that long has had so little justice by its side.
You're listening to music from the album We the People from the Apollo Chamber Players. It's another diverse nod to the 250th. Also on the show, his name is off the Kennedy Center, and there are other legal maneuvers. And do you have a short attention span? There's a concert just for you. Stay tuned. That is the sound of the scaffolding being erected at the Kennedy Center in preparation for the removal of the president's name on the Arts and Culture Center of the United States. Last month, Judge Christopher Cooper ordered the removal of the president's name from the building. The Trump-picked Kennedy Center board attempted a stay of Cooper's order, but it failed. A crowd gathered to watch workers remove the president's name and cheered when the work began. But as of this writing, the tarp that was installed as cover while the president's name was removed is still there. The center says the tarp isn't there to cover up the revised name. A spokesman for the center told USA Today that the tarp remains up to enable construction crews to address maintenance needs under the center's overhang. The board also passed a resolution acknowledging Trump's commitment to uphold what was called this cherished American institution. Legal trouble continues at the Kennedy Center. This time it's the Washington National Opera. You may remember they cut ties with the institution in January. The opera filed a lawsuit in the U.S. Court of Federal Claims alleging the Kennedy Center illegally took years' worth of donor gifts, bequests, and endowment funds in the amount of $17 million. The Washington National Opera says they have a fiduciary responsibility to its donors to ensure their contributions are honored and used as intended. The center's chief financial officer claimed for the first time that millions held in a fund for WNO's benefit actually belongs to the Kennedy Center, and disclosed that the Kennedy Center had used the money to collateralize its own line of credit. The complaint asked the court to award at least $17.1 million in damages and seeks a complete accounting of all WNO funds the center holds. Then there's the ongoing dispute at the Boston Symphony over the firing of the music director, Andris Nelsons. Now the president of the Boston Symphony has spoken. Chad Smith, the orchestra's president and chief executive, is quoted in the New York Times as saying the Boston Symphony's board initially sought to navigate these challenging times and challenging conversations with the orchestra internally. He admitted that he probably kept his head down too long, but now recognizes that the issue is not going away. Even while he deals with the BSO musicians, Smith says the board would not yield to demands by orchestra members to reappoint Nelsons. Chad Smith also added that he has no intention of stepping down. Let's take a break now from the controversies and disputes. This next story is a delight. Many of you are familiar with this piece, The Lark Ascending. It was composed by Ralph Vaughan Williams in 1914 during the early days of World War I. Over his long composing career, he wrote over 150 pieces of music of varying types. So what a surprise when Elaine Andrews, the Morley College London archivist and library manager, came across something old and exciting. She was looking through an archive box of manuscripts when she came across a handwritten manuscript which appeared to be signed by the composer Ralph Vaughan Williams. After a little digging, Andrews confirmed it along with the Ralph Vaughan Williams Foundation. This new work is called Before the Mirror. It's a song set to a pre-Raphaelite poem by Algernon Charles Swinburne. They're recording it this month. Until then, we can be satisfied listening to his music already known and loved. Coming up next, another 250th present to America from the Apollo Chamber Players. The first track on an album in commemoration of the 250th birthday of America. It's called And Still We Cross. The Apollo Chamber Players curated an album of music they named We the People. According to Matthew Detrick, founder and director of the Apollo Chamber Players, this album is a mix of genres and viewpoints.
We the People, at its heart, is an intergenerational conversation spanning 250 years. In this moment, everybody's talking about artificial intelligence, but instead we are exploring ancestral intelligence, particularly how wisdom and struggle and hope and things of that nature are passed from one generation to the next. So particularly with the opening track, And Still We Cross, the album begins with this and has the powerful words of Kenneth Morris, who is the living descendant of Frederick Douglass and Booker T. Washington, amazing individual.
And still we cross, their blood runs through my veins, and so does their purpose. And still we cross, I walk in their footsteps, we walk in their footsteps, and still we cross.
And then the album kind of circles there. We have a nice venture and ends with Houston high school students imagining America's future and what democracy means to them.
You're going to hear what those kids had to say a little later, but first, when did you come up with the concept, and why did you come up with this concept?
We're all talking about America at 250 years. That's been on my brain, on my mind for a number of years now. But really it was in 2023, 2024, when a lot of the banning and book banning and censorship was more prevalent, and kind of using our vision statement, which is to create cultural harmony through musical exploration. To get to that point, we need to identify some of the challenges that we have politically and socially and economically in our country. So kind of leaning on that and what music and art can do to bring people together, start conversation. That kind of inspired our programming for that year and then the next year. And we worked with people like George Takei and his views of democracy and advocacy throughout his life, and what it means for someone like him to still be an advocate for America. So a lot of that programming we curated for our band Stories of Censorship album, which came out last year. And then intermingled with that over the last couple of years were some commissions and music inspired by democracy and kind of leading up to this anniversary year. I hope when people listen to this, they can feel that intentionality of what we're trying to do through music and art. And, that's one side of the equation, but the other side, I think it's all really wonderful music too. So even if you don't have a political bone in your body, which is very rare these days, I think this speaks to a human story and the emotions that are captured in this wonderful music by living composers, living right now, experiencing life in so many diverse ways. I think that is also hopefully what people will take from this album.
The album, We the People, is populated with the music of composers who have lived very different experiences in America. Detrick picked them because of their differences.
Fantasy on Symphony No. 7, which is a really amazing arrangement by Tracy Silverman, one of the premier electric violinists of the world. And that's really inspired by Beethoven's Enlightenment philosophy and how that connects to America today, and Enlightenment thinkers that kind of founded this country intellectually and emotionally. And then we also have Humayun Saki. This is one of his first string quartets. He's an Afghan immigrant who lives in the Bay Area, but that again talking about the immigration and what that means to the diversity of America. And then we also have a piece by John Cornelius. It's titled Pax, or Peace. And this is for string quartet, spoken word, and vocal soloist. So Kenneth Gale is the vocalist, and this contemporizes some of the poetry of Langston Hughes through outspoken being. So it's a really powerful testament to that and what peace means today. This is one of the more kind of positive, forward-looking pieces on the album. It's called Talo, or Sunrise. And, coming from someone that grew up in Afghanistan with all the turbulence and tumultuous and violence and human rights violations, for him to have written something that is so positive, I think can be an inspiration for us all.
Another piece on the We the People album was composed by Marcus Maroney, a composer based in Houston, just like the Apollo Chamber Players are. This three-part piece, called The Color Blue, is a collaboration with students at Houston's High School for the Performing and Visual Arts. They were asked to answer the question, what does democracy mean to you? Some of their responses became lyrics for the piece. Here's the full version of The Color Blue, Part 1 for the 4th.
And I agree, my favorite holiday is the 4th of July.
When I am free, I spend to the mirror, steering red, white, and blue over my cheek.
Red, white, and blue over my cheeks. At 16, Ready does not hold any semblance of camaraderie. At 16, at 16, at 16. I hold the world democracy.
That's the Color Blue, Part 1 for the 4th. It's from the album We the People, performed by the Apollo Chamber Players from Houston. The album, We the People, will be out on July 3rd. Links are on the Classical Music and Colors page on secondstreetdreams.com. Next on Classical Music and Colors, a pianist plays her way into summer with a 24-hour concert. There's a new competition for cellists on the horizon. The Danish Philharmonic Orchestra is set to launch the new Danish International Cello Competition next year. They're working with the Pentatone label and Nordic Artist Management. The Danish competition is designed to support young cellist careers as elite artists and will offer prospective candidates the chance to compete for cash prizes totaling 27,000 euros or about 30,000 US dollars. The winner will receive bookings for international concerts and international album release, mentorship, and artist management. Applications open on August 15th with a deadline of October 15th, 2026. There's also a kind of hefty application fee of 100 euros or 116 US dollars. Summer officially arrives in the U.S. on Sunday, June 21st at 4:24 a.m. Eastern Time. One pianist is welcoming the season with a 24-hour concert in Hanoi. She is Chang Ching, who will start playing at 3 p.m. on June 20th in Vietnam's capital city. She will end the 24-hour concert on June 21st at 5 p.m. in Hanoi. She's calling it an infinitude marathon. She says she is attempting to withdraw from the economy of a performance society where art becomes a ritual of attention. She says she will perform, rest, reflect, engage in dialogue, and be present with the audience, guest artist, and generative AI with a space structured as a journey rather than a traditional concert. This summer solstice durational performance also marks the 20th anniversary of her artistic journey. There is no word on if it will be live streamed or recorded for later viewing. If you've been trying to entice your significant other to attend a classical music concert and they keep saying no, this upcoming event may get their limited attention. The Baltimore radio station WYPR and Maryland Hall in Annapolis is presenting a program called Classical Music for People with Short Attention Spans. Organizers call this an engaging and fast-paced concert experience. The Columbia Orchestra is performing a lively program, they say, of short, diverse works from across the classical repertoire that reimagines classical music. Of course, short is a relative term in classical music, but the music you've been hearing in this story is 3 minutes long. Flight of the Bumblebee, composed by Rimsky-Korsakov. This one is performed by the Berlin Orchestra. There are other versions with a single instrument, like a piano, that are just over a minute long. There are 2 shows of classical music for people with short attention spans. It is Saturday, June 27th in Annapolis, Maryland. All the links are on the Classical Music and Colors page on secondstreetdreams.com. Coming up next, Coda. There's anger over tickets to one of the most famous opera houses in the world. Our coda this week is about anger at the opera. Opera patrons of the La Scala Opera House in Milan are very upset about ticket prices for the season ahead. La Scala has increased subscription ticket prices by 30% for the second gallery. these are the most sought-after seats. Last season, subscription ticket prices were 800 euros, almost $1,000. This year, those same subscription seats will cost 1,050 euros, or about $1,220. These patrons tell Scala management that they are turning one of the oldest opera houses in the world into a Disneyland for wealthy tourists. And the newspaper La Stampa comments La Scala is the most expensive theater in Europe. Only the Salzburg Festival is more expensive. The prices are actually comparable to what a subscription ticket would cost at the Met Opera in New York. Prices there range from $1,000 to $1,500, depending on the section and the seat. Thank you for listening to the June 15, 2026 episode of Classical Music in Colors. All links are on the Classical Music in Colors page on secondstreetdreams.com. Next week, pianist Laura Downs makes a declaration. And when washing your hands landed a doctor in an insane asylum and the music that inspired it. I'm Jude Lynn Gibson on the Second Street Dreams Audio Network.